happy National Bobblehead Day to all of you out there. And if you're listening to this show, you're probably a sports fan. Something tells me you've got a bobblehead somewhere in your house. You have one, Jason?
I've got plenty.
SmackDown?
I think I have one or two. I think I have a Mark McGwire bobblehead from way back in the day.
I had to get rid of a bunch of mine. Maddie, who you got?
I just say I used to have some, and they didn't make the transition with me at a Little Rock. I used to have a Sharknado David Hasselhoff bobblehead, but that's still in the studio that I used to work at.
Who's the dude in suspenders back there? Not Bill Valentine. Who's that other guy back there?
That's the other Bill Valentine.
Oh.
I have two Bill Valentine bobbleheads. I got a Mike Trout and a Bobby Jenks from the Travelers. I threw out my other 15 because it's like, what did I need that for? I do need a Bob Holt bobblehead doll. I think the Democrat-Gazette ought to get on top of that any minute now. Bob, you've got to have bobblehead dolls somewhere in your domicile, don't you?
Much like Jason said.
You have a favorite?
Bart Starr. He's probably got something funny like that.
Right. Yeah, I've got a lot of Packer ones. I got a Lombardi one. Got a lot of Detroit Tiger ones. Just some other ones I've picked up on various trips where you could order it online. Like I remember being in Columbus years ago, and I got an Archie Griffin one. And do you guys remember Sonny Six Killer?
I know the name. Yeah, I don't know who that was necessarily.
Back at University of Washington, one time I was in Seattle and got a Sonny Six Killer one. That's he was a big time quarterback in the 70s when I was.
I've got one that would be right down your alley, then, my friend, because we did a George Kell bobblehead at a Travelers game once. You know, Kell, Hall of Fame third baseman for the Tigers, but the pride of Swifton, Arkansas.
I'd love to have a George Kell, and I've got a lot of Tiger ones, Mickey Lolich and Willie Horton and Al Kaline, of course, and a lot of Packer ones. Just they're fun to have. I think.
I feel like I owe you something. I've promised you lunch at some point, and I don't know if we're meeting for that because you've been coming on the show for 2.5 years. If I find that George Kell bobblehead doll, and it's somewhere around here, I am giving that thing to you, my friend, just for you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Good. That's in lieu of payment because I can't give you any money. Okay. Bob, what'd you think about last night's loss to Tennessee? Close loss? Is there something? There's good things to take from it. I always say you got to win your close games. I'm not saying this is a team that's going to make a habit out of losing close games, but too many turnovers, too many fouls, and really, I guess in the long run, even though you shoot 53%, you didn't value the basketball well enough.
Yeah, the 20 turnovers was a surprise. I mean, Tennessee's been turning people over a lot. I think their opponents, or they were averaging forcing about 17 turnovers and about 19 points off turnovers, which is right what they got last night in terms of points off turnovers. But yeah, some of Arkansas, some obviously were forced by Tennessee. I think I can think of 3 instances where guys stepped out of bounds. They just, I guess, didn't have kind of court awareness like they needed to. And certainly when you're trying to get behind the 3-point line in that corner, it's pretty easy to step out of bounds. But the good thing is those aren't live ball turnovers that lead to breakouts. But, yeah, Arkansas shot a lot better, obviously, the Missouri game. And I thought they moved the ball better. They had better shot selection. They obviously had worked on that in practice. I think they probably did a good job following the game plan. But, yeah, it's hard to overcome those 20 turnovers, and it's hard to overcome taking – I think it was 16 fewer free throws.
What would you say right now is the number one concern for Arkansas offensively? Is it an idea that there's not a lot of presence in the lane? Is it an idea that maybe you don't have a true point guard? What do you think is lacking right now offensively that maybe can get turned around?
Well, I think the 20 turnovers was I don't know if I want to call it an aberration, but I think they've been averaging about 11. And so I don't think that's going to be a problem consistently. I guess, like you said, maybe getting, I thought they did a better job of finishing at the rim. But yeah, and then they did pretty well in the lane. I guess it's just putting it all together, like having a game where you shoot the ball well, from 3, you shoot the ball well in the lane. You finish, you get to the line, hit your free throws, and you have a lot of assists, and you move the ball. And maybe his offense hadn't been a huge problem because they're averaging almost 90 points a game going into last night. So, but maybe putting it all together, consistently in SEC play.
Bob Holt joining us here on Halftime. Bob, one of the highlights for me last night was, finally seeing the emergence of Vance Jackson, 5 of 10 from the field, 33 minutes of action last night, made a 3 3-point shots. Bob, I think Vance is going to be really key to keep, maybe not necessarily with the 14 points a game up for him, but just a physicality on defense to put, like Phil said, some sort of presence inside. Vance Jackson's going to be key for that, and I think last night was the start of that.
Yeah, the fact he hadn't played better to me was kind of head-scratching. He was one of their top, targets in the off season to get him in the transfer portal. I mean, Eric had tried to get him twice. He tried to get him to transfer to Nevada when he left UConn. He tried to get him, obviously got him the second time here at Arkansas. But he was a guy, 6'9", got good size. He's been a good three-point shooter. He's been about a 35% three-point shooter on his career coming in, high-volume guy. In the first game against Mississippi Valley State, of course, everybody played pretty well in that game because they're not very good. But he had 15 points and not a lot of minutes. And you think, okay, well, this guy's going to take off. And then I think he got sick before the next game, and then he just had struggled. He only played, I believe he's only played a minute against Missouri. And so he'd really been, not much of a factor here of late. And then, they gave him a shot last night, and he really came through for him. He rebounded well. That was another thing. I think he had 9 boards. And one thing, we asked, I think it was Jason who asked Eric on Monday about, was the issue with fans, buy-in. And he said, no, it's not that. He's, I came in here this morning and he was shooting, he's working hard. But he mentioned rebounds. He's got to do other things. He said, no matter how much he misses, he wants to keep shooting because he's such a good shooter. But he did mention rebounds, get a loose ball, so maybe that was something Vance realized, hey, I've got to do a better job with that. And, and Eric said he's gotten better on defense, too. They played some zone with him in there, which that's very rare that Eric plays zone, but I thought it was fairly effective. But, yeah, if Vance Jackson could, not that he's necessarily going to average 14 and 9, but if he could give him good quality minutes, especially with Smith out there, that would be huge.
One of the really shocking things that's been happening in the past two games is Desi Sills. I mean, struggled mightily from the field in the previous game, and then last night only taking 1 shot against Tennessee. Barely played, didn't even make 20 minutes of action last night. What's going on with Desi Sills, and what do you think needs to happen to get him back on track?
Yeah, that's a mystery to me. He scored career high 23 against Auburn, and he's been a good rebounder for a guy his size. And, Missouri, you could say, well, that was a rough shooting night. Just like Connor had a bad shooting night. A lot of them had a bad shooting night. So he ended up hitting 19 of 71 or whatever it was. But, yeah, Desi just seemed to lose his aggressiveness offensively. And I don't know. Eric mentioned last night that Desi's kind of had his hot and cold streaks through Eric's time here, a year and a half as the coach. And, Desi played really well down the stretch last year off the bench. He was playing starters minutes. He was playing 30-plus, but he averaged something like, I'd have to double-check, but I think he averaged about 14 points the last 6 or 7 games off the bench. And then he's been starting this year, so you wonder maybe they bring him off the bench to try to get him going. But obviously, there's an ebb and flow to the season, and guys, that was really the first tough game scoring-wise that Moses Moody had. He'd scored double figures in every game. He only had 6 last night, 1 for 8, I think. And, you can argue that Moses is their best all-around player, most talented. And so, yeah, I don't know. Eric alluded to lineup change, and he wasn't specific, but in my head I was thinking, well, he's probably not going to start Desi next game. I don't know that for a fact, but that's just kind of adding things up. You think maybe you wonder would they bring, J.D. Notae's been bringing offense off the bench. Maybe they start J.D., bring Desi off the bench. I don't know. But, yeah, Desi's had a rough couple of games. And, last night he went 0 for 1, so he really didn't give himself much of a chance. And maybe he just didn't feel confident like I'm going to let other guys shoot. But, yeah, Desi had a rough game, and obviously Moses Moody had a rough game too.
Obviously, every game in the SEC is must win, and you want to win. But, Bob, I think when you look forward to this Saturday when they take on Georgia, it's a big game inside Bud Walton Arena, and the Razorbacks really need to play well and get the win there to try to move their conference record to 2-2, because there's a big difference moving forward from a confidence level, 2-2 versus 1-3.
Well, yeah, especially when your next 2 games are on the road against Alabama, who's 3-0 in the league. league and has really played well after some tough non-conference losses. And LSU is very talented. I mean, LSU might have the most talent in the league. They've got, I would say several pros on that roster. And, they've got this freshman, Thomas, who's, I think leading the league in scoring. So, Eric talked about this being a really tough stretch to start the year, having to go to Auburn and getting, Missouri's much better than anybody expected, I think, on paper. Ranked, in Tennessee on the road, tough defensive team that's ranked, veteran team. And then, like I said, the next two being at Alabama and LSU after this Georgia game. So, I would say it's really pivotal. They beat Georgia, which took LSU to overtime in Baton Rouge. So I don't think Georgia's going to be an easy get, but it's a game they really do have to get at home, especially.
Bob, just one more question, and I guess a simple answer. What do you think this team does best right now?
That's a good question. I would say going to the hole hard. I know they maybe had some out-of-control drives against Missouri, but I think when you look at Note and Moses and, even Desi when he's on, certainly, I think these guys drive the ball, the basket pretty hard. Now, I think that's probably why Eric was upset they didn't get more free throws last night. I mean, he wasn't going to just flat out criticize the officials, but he talked about, Arkansas maybe not being as physical as Tennessee, and yet, not getting near as many free throws. And some of those were Arkansas fouled them at the end, but that was really only the last couple possessions. But I thought Arkansas took the ball pretty hard to the hole, so did Tennessee. I don't think necessarily that the times they put Tennessee on the line were bad calls, but there were a few times Arkansas guys got hit pretty hard and didn't get calls.
I think you hit the nail right on the head there, Bob. Hey, I appreciate you, as always. I'll be searching for that George Kell bobblehead doll and see if I bump into you at the grocery store again, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
You got it. I guess that means I've got to take the bobblehead doll grocery shopping every time now, just in case. Maybe we can just plan to get together. I don't know.
You can just text me. That'd be.
Oh, that would work too. Good. Yes, just like I
those
do every
things
Thursday.
called cell phones.
Hey, don't forget,
Thanks,
if you're dealing with sleep apnea and you hate dealing with that CPAP every night, get a hold of Dr. Bo Sparkman at Family Dental Care of Fort Smith, 479-785-1419. They'll help you with sleep apnea with a custom dental appliance. Gets rid of that annoying CPAP. I know you hate the CPAP machine. Your wife hates it more because it's so loud. Dr. Sparkman has years of experience. He's treated hundreds of patients just like you. 479-785-1419. Get rid of the CPAP with Family Dental Care of Fort Smith. And we will get rid of the first hour of halftime right after this. Stay with us.